Peace and blessings, all praises to the Most High. And there you see it, Mr. Maurice Byrd Jr. With his lawyer celebrating the acquittal on all charges that stem from the altercation that led to the loss of life of this man, Mr. Stephen Strassburg of Hatboro, Pennsylvania, who was charging and yelling racial epithets. I even punched Mr. Byrd before Mr. Byrd pulled out his legal firearm, stood his ground, and fired several shots in defense of himself, causing once again the loss of life of Mr. Strassburg here. And he was charged. They charged him with first degree and third degree unalivement. And he had been in jail since yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, where the trial concluded, the jury deliberated, and Mr. Byrd, once again, as you see here in this barbershop with the client, he's going to be able to get back to work sooner rather than later. Now, if you remember this case, we've covered this case, happened in June of last year, 2024. I think we covered it about the end of last year, and a lot of people were interested in this case. Received a lot of calls. A lot of people called up there, tried to get them legal assistance, and I do want to thank everybody who took out their time to see what could be done to help Mr. Byrd. I recently gave an update after a young lady reached out to me and said that the trial was going to be this week. And she mentioned that Mr. Byrd had actually retained a lawyer. He retained a lawyer, paid him about $20,000. That lawyer subsequently died, which forced Mr. Byrd to rely on a court-appointed counsel. Evidently, this court-appointed counsel was one of integrity and one who took his job seriously and defended Byrd rigorously, and resulted in Mr. Byrd being acquitted on all charges. Now, this happened in Hatboro, Pennsylvania, and the story, goes that Mr. Byrd, who was a business owner, he had a barbershop, and Mr. Strassburg were embroiled in a, 2-year-long conflict over maybe a parking space. Mr. Strassburg lived above the barbershop where Mr. Byrd performed his business, and they, obviously, argued a lot, according to the, the neighbors and the people familiar with the situation. And it ended up until one day they were arguing, and, Mr. Strassburg began to charge at Byrd, evidence, and people say that Strassburg was drunk, and, he charged at him, calling him racial epithets, and even punching Mr. Byrd. And Mr. Byrd, who is a disabled veteran who served in Afghanistan, if I'm not mistaken, for 2 tours, served his country admirably. I tried to retreat, but he could not retreat because he had a bad leg from his injuries in his tours of duty. And so he called 911 and said, "Hey, this guy's, threatening me. He's coming to me." And in the midst of that call, Strassburg continued in his aggression, and Mr. Byrd, pulled out his weapon and, fired several times, and then stayed on the scene until police came, told him what he told them. And unfortunately, he was arrested and has stayed in custody since June of 8 last year. But now, according to the reports I have received, he is free. Now, I talked to his father. I talked to a young lady who was disturbed about the case because there had not been a lot of legal coverage, a lot of, national coverage, even a lot of local coverage. She actually reached out to me. That's why I did the update last week. And, she had called a couple of other news people in her area. And, they said that they would be covering the trial. And I did see one article detailing how he had been found not guilty of the charges. And, going back, to why people feel that he shouldn't have even been arrested. The criminal record of the guy who was attacking him. This guy served time for vehicular homicide. Then, 2 years after that, he got caught driving drunk again. And he had enough, oxycodones in his system, to almost be fatal towards him. And so he had not learned his lesson. And once again, people say that he was drunk at the time of his demise when attacking Mr. Byrd. So many people feel, as do I did, that Mr. Byrd should not have even been in prison or in jail awaiting trial. However, we know that this legal system is sometimes two-faced when it comes to situations involving race. Now, pretty sure if Byrd was attacking Strassburg in that manner, there would have been no charges brought upon him. But because, once again, Byrd is a black man and Strassburg was white, he had to go to the legal system. Fortunately for us and him, the legal system worked to perfection. But yet and still, he has still had to endure some financial heartache. I think his business may have closed. So hopefully he'll be able to get his business back. But I'm just happy that the brother is not spending the rest of his life in prison for something that, he could not avoid. And, the prosecutors tried to paint him, of course, as a monster, saying it was unexcusable. He could have retreated, blah, 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 blah. But once again, Pennsylvania is a stand your ground law state. So he had no duty to retreat. And so, once again, prayers and thoughts once again goes out to his family. I talked to his father last week, and I talked to his friend who came from Seattle to testify. I talked to Susie, who was there in the trial, and everybody, man, and everybody who called about this case. I thank y'all because I'm under the impression that when you have people exerting positive energy, then it brings positive results. So shout out to Mr. Maurice Byrd. Hopefully he can put this instance behind him and get back to work. Once again, I have to show this picture right here. He's able to get back to what he loves doing. You can see the smile on his face. And he's once again, a business owner, a black man who served his country, never been in trouble before, no record, none of the things that his attacker had upon him. And so we want to, extend our well wishes. And if you're watching this, Mr. Byrd, feel free to reach out. If you want to, this is, I know this is harrowing. This has been a painful experience. So, one thing about experiences like this is, to be able to talk about them and tell your story. And that's part of the healing process. So I commend you, my brother, for standing your ground and enduring this process and keeping up the fight. I thank the lawyer, the legal team. I thank his family for sticking by him. His girlfriend, I think, and all of the supporters who came, to his trial from near and far. We want to thank you as well. But, this has been a end that, I honestly didn't think that we would have because of just the legal system. But, I'm thankful to God that, our brother is free and he's able to go about his business. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this outcome in the comments. 919-587-7782. Peace and blessings.